Meeting is now live streaming.
Okay.
I'm gonna have YouTube up on one of my monitors so we can read.
All right. So we'll use this stream. Let me get the link. I'm killing this stream. All right. I'm gonna end this one that was open. All right. And then we should be able to pop up here. We good on YouTube?
Sorry, I'm pulling it right now.
All right.
Looks
What's
like
up,
we're on
guys?
it.
Yeah, yeah. Give us a thumbs up if y'all can hear us. Okay.
Remember, there's like a 10, 15-second delay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
No, we're
almost
good.
so.
We're good. We're good.
They
Hopefully
said all good.
everybody's
They said all good.
all right. Hopefully everybody's out there safe and sound. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll just move everything over to this chat. So yeah, good to be back, man. Good to see your face. And I know we were chit-chatting yesterday.
Yeah.
All of us that are hopefully in safely in quarantine and being socially responsible, but we've all been missing sports and just, you know, spring ball playoffs, NCAA tournament, NBA playoffs, NFL draft coming up. You know, it's just like it's all been, I don't want to say it's been stripped from us, but like just
Oh, it
how's
has.
that? You know what I mean?
You're right
Like,
about that.
it's just been stripped from us, right? And then on top of that, it's like something terrible is going on in the world. So
Mhm.
just trying to wrap our minds around it, and you know, it's kind of depressing when you think about it. And for those of you who are in the medical field and out there combating those things, you know, thank you, right?
Mhm.
You know, I know you have friends over in New York that are battling right now. So, yeah, man, what are your just general thoughts, and we can kind of get into whatever anybody wants to discuss. We might open up a phone line if anybody wants to call in. I think we can actually pull that off.
Yeah, no, it like you said, it's really weird because when something bad usually happens, at least you had sports to lean on where when you're down or something like that, drink your sorrows away and watch a game. But we can't even do that now. I mean, it's just yeah, it's just a lot of Netflix and work and just repeat Groundhog Day.
Absolutely. You know, Netflix, you know, we'll talk, well, somebody brought up Tiger King. We can touch on that. We can touch on that, but we got to handle some business here first. I've made a couple videos just when I've had the time and the energy to do so. And one of the ones I made was just the opportunity that I think Tom Herman and Texas football, starting with them in particular, they have because of their situation, having a veteran quarterback, having a coach, um, not having a new coach. Like Baylor has a new coach, right? So what time, you know, let's say they do decide to come back with things. I don't know what a reasonable time frame is at this point. I don't think anybody can say one. Um, however, if this thing miraculously goes away and we're back in the saddle August timeframe, which I don't think is realistic, but let's say that happens hypothetically. How is that even fair if you're like a new staff, right? Versus an established staff? Like how I don't know how does that
It
all
plays to
work
our
out?
benefits. I mean, it plays to our
It
strength. I
does.
mean,
It
honestly,
does.
but no, you're right. It doesn't. You don't have the spring ball. You don't have fall ball it's so crammed together that I'm sure we're going to see a lot of injuries if it does get rushed out on the field because people haven't been properly in a weight room or a an actual program, a training program that will get them ready for the season. So I think you will see a lot of injuries if it is rushed out. I did read something today that they were aiming in mid-July to start. Athletes are supposed to be back on campus. That's what I was reading. I don't know if did you read the same thing?
No, I haven't seen that. You have to shoot that to me.
Will do.
So a lot of people are actually asking draft questions. So we've been talking a lot of draft in our group chats, John. So Cowboys, who do we want to take? Dallas is asking about who the Cowboys should take in the first, offense or defense. William Pete as well. So shout out to you guys for being on the chat. I think at 17, the way this draft breaks down, it's actually kind of sweet for the Cowboys in terms of the things they can address right off the bat. Like we all know at this point how loaded the wide receiver class is. I talk about it almost every day. Like when you have, I've never seen a group this deep. I think, yeah, 2014, like the top guys were sick. But if you look at this class coming out, it's ridiculous how many wide receivers you have. But then you could also end up in a situation where, a guy like a Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw falls, who are both phenomenal defensive tackle prospects. I understand the Cowboys went and signed a Dontari Poe. They went and signed a Gerald McCoy. But you still need a rotation, right? And I don't know. Like I really think they could go wide receiver. They could go CJ Henderson from Florida at corner. I don't know what I guess what would you like to see, and what do you think is more likely to happen?
So if we go defensive line, if Kinlaw's there, definitely get him. Pick him up right away. I agree with you. You can have a stud defensive line, defensive front, and okay defensive backs, and they can make those defensive backs look like all
Yes,
pros.
they will make the defensive backs
Yeah.
better. Agreed.
So if he's there, yes, but also Chase on if he's there too. That wouldn't be a terrible pickup for a defensive lineman. But
especially at the end, to your point about Chase on and the Cowboys saying, "Hey, we want to be more multiple. We want to kind of go in between the 3-4 and the 4-3." Chase on gives you that versatility.
And he's a hybrid guy.
He's a hybrid guy, football smart, played on a championship team, and somebody who we've both liked since he was being recruited out of North Shore. So I would love. You would not hear a complaint from I don't think either one of us
no.
pick is Chase on. I think if you're looking at it from a practical standpoint, CJ Henderson starts to come into the conversation, especially with the fact that they want these. That's why one of the reasons why they moved on from Byron Jones. They want corners who are going to take chances, kind of gamble. That's why they like Anthony Brown, try to, pick stuff off. And CJ Henderson has like that Marcus Peters type of vibe, right? Now, how productive a corner like that will be right off the bat when you're trying to win right away, we'll see. I don't know if CJ Henderson's ready day one the way a CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy would be at wide receiver.
I don't think Judy's going to be that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a fall to 17.
But one of these
CD will be available. I think maybe. I still think. I think he's a 14 to 18 pick in the draft. I don't think he's a top 12.
Somebody brought up Christian Fulton. I'm not personally a fan of picking Christian Fulton in the first round. I do think he'll be a he has the potential to be a very good player. However, is my rule of thumb. As a Texas fan, if I'm rooting for my team to throw the ball at you, that's not the guy then I want my pro team to go and draft. I'm just saying. When it was Christian Fulton versus Brennan Eagles or Christian Fulton versus Colin Johnson, I felt like we were making money with that matchup. LSU fans will tell us, "Oh, he wasn't 100% yet." All the excuses in the world. I didn't see Derek Stingley Jr. having those issues on the other side. That's that right. Like, and then on top of that, the national championship game against Clemson, Justin Ross and T. Higgins getting off on him. Again, like I'm seeing the same things. And I texted you, I was like, I can't draft a corner in the first round that gets mossed that much.
Nope.
I couldn't be me. Now, the brothers on here talking about, well, Christian Fulton's going to play more in the slot. I didn't see him play slot corner like that at LSU. So somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not favorable to that pick. I actually like Gladney at TCU more just from what I saw. I mean,
No, we love Gladney.
he's a dog.
He's one of those guys who'll just jam you at the line, and he's the type of player that you want as your defensive back. He won't get the takeaways, but he'll make it tough for your number one.
So, Devin Duvernay, we talked about that in the video yesterday, the impromptu video we made. And if you guys haven't seen that, please go check it out. And we talked a lot about Devin Duvernay and his potential to go in the draft and how that could potentially look. I think it's interesting because the Todd McShay mock draft that came out where he had Duvernay all of a sudden going the second round, when we had been hearing somewhere in the 4 to 6 range. And some of that was pre-combine stuff. I think the 4.39 definitely helps move him up. I think when you couple the 4.39 with the 100+ catches and the productions there on tape against good opponents, that also helps as well. I just think that people are really starting to look at his character and the type of guy he is. And I think some of these coaches may say, hey, we look at these guys a ball of clay, and that's somebody who I can easily coach and get the best out of.
Yeah, no, definitely character is a huge attribute for NFL scouts. I mean, just think of it. Antonio Brown does not have very high character, but his talent is through the roof, and he doesn't have a spot. He doesn't have a home. So someone who just keeps his mouth shut, grinds, and keeps getting better and better and better, it's gonna be a great addition to any team. I want him. I know we mentioned this, but we want him to fall to a good position where he has a quarterback around him that could make him better, and he can make the quarterback better.
Agreed. Nathan, what's good, brother? I see you on here. I did not catch. I saw the Orange Bowl conference today, but we actually had a work conference at work, so we were not able to catch that live chat. I wanted to see it beforehand, but just haven't been able to with work. I saw that he doesn't want beans in this chili, so I think that made a lot of people happy. Somebody said Stingley was getting picked on a lot last year. So I knew brothers were going to go straight to the Van Jefferson take, which I agree. That's very disrespectful. Van Jefferson might be, after Jerry Jeudy, he might be the best route runner in the class, number one. Number two, Van Jefferson was a 5th-year senior because he came from Ole Miss and is a technician as a route runner. For those who don't know, his father, Sean Jefferson, was on the New England Patriots in the 90s with Drew Bledsoe and them. Very good wide receiver, number 84 back in the day. Van Jefferson's tough. Yeah, he cooked Stingley. And the only other person that I saw cook Stingley like that was George Pickens on Georgia, and that guy is a dog too. So basically 2 NFL studs. Everybody else got locked up, including our guys. So I'm not here for the I'm with whoever said that. I'm not here for the slander today against Derek Stingley Jr.
And he was a true freshman. He's a true freshman. I mean, the kid's fantastic. I think he had the highest rating as a defensive back in the nation.
He did, according to Pro Football Focus. He was rated. He had a higher Pro Football Focus grade than Jeffrey Okudah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's young, he's raw, but he's still just a beast.
And on the flip side of that, William, Van Jefferson is a guy who will be. I think he'll have a better NFL career than he did at Ole Miss and Florida. Just with playing with NFL players that will understand how to get him the football, with how he's able to separate. I think that's something that will be very, very interesting. Who will start at corner? Pickens didn't really cook. Pickens had a long touchdown on him. I know Stingley ended up getting an interception, but Pickens still had, I think, 100 yards in that game, and he only played a half. Mark, what's up, man? Nah, there's some good NFL. Michael Pittman. Somebody brought up Michael Pittman earlier from USC. Big physical wide receiver. Chase Claypool, big physical wide receiver. I think that's another reason that Colin Johnson got passed by a lot of these guys. When you're not on the field, and these other guys are having 1,000-yard seasons and coming into their own, like a Claypool did. I will be very interested to see what happens with Colin. Come draft time. To the Redskins.
I could see that.
So here's both sides of it, Tran. Well, how do you feel about Dwayne Haskins?
So I actually think he's a fantastic prospect. I
agree.
It's weird because I was listening to there's a Tom Brady interview with on Howard Stern, and he was saying what made me so great was that I was finally someone's guy when Bill Belichick picked him. This is not his guy. I mean, Haskins is not Rivera's guy.
Ron Rivera.
So,
and you know what? He wasn't Jay Gruden's guy either. He was the owner's guy. He was he was Daniel Snyder's guy, and so I'm from the same area they are, and Haskins at Bullis in that area, private school, amazing high school quarterback, and ended up flipping from Maryland to go to Ohio State. He ends up beating out Joe Burrow in spring camp to win the starting job, and he goes and shatters all of Drew Brees' Big Ten records. I'm a big Haskins fan, but at the same token, and he finished last year very strong, actually. If you look at the last 2 games he played, he didn't play the Cowboys game, but the games before that, the last 2 games in particular, he put up really good numbers. The thing with him, though, is what you just said. You have to have somebody that believes in you and wants to have your back. Like, the thing is, Dave Gettleman drafted Daniel Jones from Duke, and everybody was clowning him. But, like, they put that belief. They were like, we love this dude.
This is our guy.
This is our guy. Yeah. And that confidence is so important for a young player. One of the things that the idiot Ryan brothers was talking about, the Rob, was it Rob? It was Rob. And he was saying that they gave him no prep before they threw him in there in the Giants game. Like, he wasn't getting reps in practice. And anytime a young quarterback, confidence is key, but it's also they have to get those reps on the backside, or else don't play him. Let him redshirt, let him learn, and then go into the next offseason with the plan. I say all that to say this. The Redskins have an out. If they don't want to go that direction, Ron Rivera doesn't want it, he can go Tua. Now, there's a risk involved too. Chase Youngs will be on the board, who's also from DMV, and somebody that a lot of people will be banging the table for. You can assure that, especially the chance to pair him with a Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, like a Ryan Kerrigan's still there. That Redskins defensive front 7 starting to look pretty good. And if you add a Chase Young to that with Ron Rivera coaching.
Yeah, I was going to say Ron Rivera is a defensive coach. So
right.
Maybe the best player in the draft might be Chase Young. And I don't know if he could pass up on that. If he's right there, if he's not,
especially there's people that say, let's look at who was the number 2 pick in the draft last year. I believe it was Nick Bosa. Where'd he end up? He ended up in the Super Bowl, right? And remember, they drafted him after they had already taken like three straight defensive linemen. And I'll never forget, John Lynch was like, no, we're going to take the best player and we'll figure it out. That's our job to figure that out. But I want the best football players, right? They had already had Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner and Solomon Thomas that they had drafted, and they went and paid D Ford, and they still drafted Nick Bosa. They didn't give a shit. They didn't do the whole, oh, we already drafted a whole bunch of defensive linemen, so we're not going to take Nick Bosa. No, they took Nick Bosa. Well, guess what? Chase Young has the same grade, in some cases a higher grade, than Nick Bosa did. So you telling me as a Redskins organization, we're going to pass on that guy to take another quarterback again and try to run it back? Granted, it's a new leadership in town. I don't know if that makes sense to me. But and hey, if they do that, there's certain organizations, by the way, Tran, I don't trust with quarterbacks. They're one of them. Like if they got Tua, right? Do you trust the Redskins to do right by Tua?
No. No. He'll still be healing from that hip injury. Like, no, he's good. I saw him walk. It was fine. On that field too. Oh. That field has taken careers.
FedEx Field, worst field in the NFL. It's actually malpractice what they're doing, and why the league hasn't mandated they change they change their grass situation. I don't get it. Let's see. Denzel Okafor did remove, to Clay's point, switching back to UT. They did remove, or he did remove himself from the portal. So we're actually 2 for 2 with Juwan Mitchell, with guys coming out of the portal. That one was kind of weird because we know he's going to be competing for a starting job, and he has almost a year under his belt of starting experience going back to 2017.
I thought he'd be almost a shoo-in for the starting job too.
I mean, and the thing too is I don't know if they're going to play him inside or outside. I think there's some other things that they got to figure out there as well. Does he play guard and Kerstetter at center and Junior Angilau is your other guard, and then you have Tyler Johnson slide in with Cosme? Like I'm just curious how they want this to break down, or is he right tackle? Because I don't know if Tyler Johnson has come along as much as they say he has, then I would probably be more inclined to see Denzel Okafor play guard and let my young, because remember we put Samuel Cosme at right tackle with no training wheels, and he was fine. We did the same thing with Connor Williams. He was fine. So I wonder if they do that with Tyler Johnson as well. But it's interesting.
But Tyler Johnson's had a year in the program though.
True. And Cosme did as well. I guess I'm just talking about more like just reps, like us having seen them.
Well, the only thing that I'm worried about is the lack of reps for the spring and fall practices for him jumping in, because the right tackle position is huge, and maybe that's what they probably sold him on, is that, hey, we might have to keep you at right tackle for a little while, and then throughout the year, then move you over to probably left guard, where we'll just own the left-hand side with him and Cosme. Or you think he'd be right?
No, I think he'd be right. I think they're going to move Junior over there where Parker Braun was last year, because Parker Braun was playing left guard. I mean, there again, it's preference on, what Herb Hand sees in terms of their chemistry together, especially when they're pulling and some of the more, handling certain stunts. That was an issue we had last year with Parker Braun. Matter of fact, was that communication with stunts. We referenced the chase on sack at the end of the half all the time, and issues that, whether it was him, the center, whoever, so I think chemistry matters as much as anything as well, especially with offensive line play. Let's see. Yeah, Christian Jones is another young prospect we have. There's a lot of guys that you're hearing good things from. It's just that ourselves as fans, we've been kind of spoiled the last couple of years with not too many injuries, not having to shuffle guys a whole bunch. So I think it's been all there.
So I actually saw something that was someone making a list of what's the deepest position, and I thought it was BS because they had quarterback number 1. because honestly, I think if Sam goes down, it's a huge drop off in production.
You do?
I do.
I
I think
think
it will
I
be
think
a
there's a lot, I
huge
think
drop
there's
off.
people that will disagree with you on that.
I mean, I just don't think it. I also don't think it's the. Do you agree with me that it's the deepest position that we have?
Um, when Jaquindon Jackson will be back in the way coronavirus is going, his ACL might be fully healed by the time we play football again. I mean, you got 4 quarterbacks that are studs, that are stud. 3 of them, well, 2 of them are prospects. Sam's there, and Casey Thompson depends on if you believe what the other coaches and people that came in, especially during that bowl practices when they were like, Casey Thompson's out here lighting it up, right? Like, and that wasn't our staff saying that. That was other people's staff and other people that were auditing our program. They're like, who the hell's number 8? Right. So, and I will disagree with you in terms of like having this massive drop off, because I do think with Casey Thompson, A, he fits the offense, and B, Tom Herman thrives with backup quarterbacks in that situation. Like every time he's been faced with that, he's always been able to keep that second guy comfortable, or whoever's had to come in and play. And then Mike Yurcich, I think just having a quarterback friendly scheme. Casey Thompson's been playing, he's been here for 3 years. It's not like he's a redshirt freshman, right? Um, he'll be technically a redshirt sophomore, but he's 3 years into the program, and at this point, trying to even separate himself from the younger guys so that when Sam graduates, there's no question on him getting to be hopefully the T Martin of the situation, if that makes sense. Where this is my job now, right? Jaquindon Jackson, Hudson Carr, Jalen Moreau, you guys are gonna have to wait. Like if I'm Casey Thompson, that's what I'm hoping for. Now, if it plays out that way, or if he decides to hit the portal at some point, I don't know. But I don't think that feedback that they've been getting from practice is BS. I just don't.
Well, also like I do think still it is BS. I don't think that's the deepest position. I honestly, personally think our running back room is our deepest position. Personally, then after that, I think it's our offensive line. Our offensive line looks like it for once it could be run too deep and not terrible drop off and play on the second line. The only big drop off would be the left tackle position.
I think those are both deep positions. I don't know if they're deeper than safety though. I mean,
I'm considering I'm counting defensive backs all in one position, because the way that Chris Ash does, he likes to have speed on the field from what I've seen, and he can mix and match. He could take a corner and put him in a safety and have him roam the field. But if we're going strictly safety group, and it's Caden Sterns, PJ Foster, who's the fast
Chris
kid?
Brown,
Who's the
and Tyler Owens,
Tyler
Chris
Owens, thank you.
Adamore. Yeah. And I mean, Overshone's no longer officially in that group, as he is,
he's a linebacker, man.
He's a linebacker.
He's a linebacker.
But that I mean, even Chris Brown, right? Like Chris Ash's first name out his mouth when he was breaking down the tape that people he fell in love with, Chris Ash, or I'm sorry,
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown.
Yeah,
got a lot of Chris's. But the running back room is sick though. Ingram, Roshan, Daniel Young's still around, and then obviously the stud coming in, Bijan Robinson.
Forgot Whittington.
They're moving over receiver.
Yeah, he'll play. He'll rush the
ball
bit. He'll run the ball a little bit.
I would like to see Jordan Whittington's an interesting one, man, because he's still, even with all these guys there, he still has a very unique skill set that can be utilized. Like when you look at the fact that he was able to shift to running back so easily last year before the groin stuff started really, really bothering him and ultimately had to have surgeries. I definitely could still see that opportunity for him to be a Curtis Samuel type of player for us, where he is still getting some touches. out of there. But look, we were talking about this yesterday with '05 Texas, right? When we had Selvin Young and Vince Young and Jamal Charles and Henry Melton and Ramonce Taylor and Chris Obanai, like all these guys getting carries. Like that could be an issue here again. Not an issue, but one of the things where it's like, because the only thing that really stopped Keontae Ingram from getting 1,000 yards was Roshan Johnson was so good, and also
That and he was injured.
had, well, yeah,
he
injuries
was
too,
hurt.
injuries
Yeah,
too.
he was hurt.
But if you look at per carry pace, he was
Right
on
there
his,
with Roshan.
yeah. Well, he was a full yard ahead, but I'm talking about if you do it where he got the same type of touches that other running backs in the conference were getting, he would have been a 1,300 yard rusher. But Texas is just really always, at least in the last, I'd say 15, 20 years, outside Deonta Foreman, we've always been in a situation where we've had multiple guys that we need to feed. Talent level is varied, but even going back to like Joe Bergeron, Malcolm Brown, and Jonathan Gray, like we had to feed 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we've always had these, and again, talent-wise, it's varied, but we've always had multiple guys we've had to feed in the backfield. Eric Goucher, it's good to see you guys as well. Mark Vasquez said, any huge impact considering Greg Finvis is leaving. So for those who don't know, Greg Finvis is heading to Emory, which is a big academic move in terms of institution, because we know from I don't know if it even gets bigger than Texas from a athletic standpoint. I know a lot of people have been critical of the timing of this, considering where we're at. I don't know. It to me, it smelled like something that had been in the works for a while. But it's big news. Anytime a school president moves on, I think what will help Texas is the fact that we now have a very strong long-term athletic director in Chris Del Conte. It's going to be a lot of stress on him, but a great leader is able to shoulder all that stuff that's coming downhill, and it stops with him, right? So I'm sure after we start to get back to some state of normalcy, there'll be, I don't know if they've already talked about who will be, if the Board of Regents will name a new president or how that will work. But with Chris Del Conte in place, I don't worry too much about UT athletics,
Neither do
in
I.
my opinion.
So there was a question up a little bit more, and they were asking more so about Orlando taking over SC's defense. They asked if we think that it'll be good. He'll be good for them, or will he have been found out, quote unquote. I think actually the Pac-12 fits his defense pretty well, especially with Mike Leach leaving. His biggest games were giving away the big play, and Mike Leach is known for tearing apart those types of defenses. Chip Kelly really hasn't found the same magic that he had in Oregon. Oregon's the team that they have to worry about in the Pac-12. I think especially with the athletes that SC has, I think they can line up and hit with Stanford. Plus, Stanford's been down for a couple of years. But ASU is also on the way up too.
ASU, man,
Herm Edwards
has
got the thing. It looks like he's turning that ship around.
What a recruiting class they just had coming off the season that Jaden Daniels had and all those guys. And on top of that, they're going to send Brandon Ayuk. That's another wide receiver who might be a first-round pick that came out of their program. Benjamin is in the draft. So they're sending people to the league. They're winning in recruiting.
Wasn't Benjamin a Texas guy?
Yeah.
That we missed out on?
He was a guy.
Right.
He was so I think we went with Toneel Carter, right? Am I tripping?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Did we go Toneel Carter over Benjamin? I don't remember the details around it. My mind is foggy there. But Todd Orlando, I agree with you. I think he will have success. I like Todd Orlando. I still do. I just think he had a lot of trouble adjusting after he didn't have the type of linebackers he needed. And you saw that distinction in the defense. And when he doesn't have a guy it's the linebackers, also a guy like a Puna Ford, right? Like he had those disruptors. early on, and nothing against Chris Nelson or any of the other guys who filled in, and Keandre Cobra in this last year. But the way that he was trying to play too much out of the Lightning package, and just I think he'll have an opportunity to really go back and say, I need to put together a real base defense around fundamentals and establishing a culture, and then get creative off of that. Because at Texas, I often felt like there were certain weeks, because it wasn't always the case, but there were certain weeks where we just didn't have a good, strong base defense. Like teams like Georgia game, like our scheme was fine. It was fine. Like when we came out, all the linebackers were able to play in that game. We were able to smack because of the way the opponent wanted to play.
We were
us.
playing
So,
downhill. We're hat on
absolutely.
hat,
But
on
we were
hat,
essentially
break the
running a
block and
3-4
tackle.
defense. We were
Yeah.
essentially just a straight up 3-4 defense in the Georgia Bowl game, right? So, but when you're facing the type of minds that we had to deal with in this conference week after week, and your solution every single time is blitz, and you're coming out and you're getting carved up like nobody's business, opening drive every week, write it down. That I had problems with that. So we'll see. USC will always be a sleeping giant. College football is always better when USC is good. Period. It's a better product. It's a better sport. They're one of those teams that we need to be contenders. That's why, again, when we're going back to the 05 Rose Bowl, 2005 or 2006 Rose Bowl, it was the highest, most watched college football game ever, because Texas was good and USC is good. When
two of the biggest markets.
Yes, they have to be good.
Yeah.
They have to be good. I'm sorry, I got my wife opened the door outside and this freaking gnats are in my face. But Mac Brown, I saw Clemson Jacobs said Mac Brown's recruiting like crazy.
Oh, dude, he's killing it. He's killing it.
I saw he was only behind
Ohio by a
and
landslide
Clemson
right now, and Clemson.
Yeah, it was only Ohio State and Clemson that they were behind in the rankings. Michael Fordham said, Herman's transition 2017 class, we took Carter after he decommitted from Georgia because Chubb wasn't coming back. Eno waited too long. Well, appreciate the confirmation there. I'm just looking at some of the other comments. What are your thoughts about JoJo Earl and Quay Davis? I think the fact that I love the fact that Andre Coleman was able to get those guys reingratiated. I mean, Quay Davis probably committed to us too early, right? And then we lost a lot of momentum. Drew Maringer, I believe, was the one that had built up the relationship with JoJo Earl out of Alito, and we weren't even in the discussion. But with time, I think with the fact that Mike Yurcich's offensive coordinator and the credibility that he brings, keeping Andre Coleman on staff after they did a tremendous job recruiting in DFW around that Alamo Bowl period of time, there's real momentum there. I think JoJo Earl's last visit was at Texas before everything got shut down, right? So Quay Davis is going to be a little tougher. Because the relationship was with the coach that went to SMU. So
I get that, but still, it's if you have a shot at him, you got to get that guy, because that guy is a game breaker as a wide receiver.
Who are you talking about? Quay Davis?
Yeah.
I know you're big on him because he has a grown man body. That's the other thing. Like,
yeah, and he's fast too. He's not. Yeah, it's not just a big guy, but he goes up and gets the ball. I mean, that's especially when you're breaking in a new quarterback for your system who hasn't really taken much snaps throughout the season or any game reps or anything like that. You want a guy who'll go up and make you better.
Tran, I'll let you address some of these. Would y'all? I want to see if I can set up the call line. If anybody wants to call in.
Joseph Osai can be a first round draft pick. I actually think our defense has the possibility of having 3 to 4 people who could be first round draft picks. Yes, Joseph Osai is one. I think if Caden Sterns starts playing like Caden Sterns, not hurt, I think he could be one. And I think Keandre Coburn could be one as well. I think if I don't think Overshown would be a first round draft pick, but maybe BJ Foster could work his way up there if he could show he could stay healthy.
Are we talking about? I'm sorry, I'm looking at some. Are we talking about this season after this season?
No. I mean, I'm talking about a possibility for a future. I think someone said that Osai can be a first round draft pick one day, and I agree with that completely. I do. Especially if he starts, if it clicks, the light clicks on him, and like he did for the Utah game, and he just starts balling out like that. Yeah, he will definitely be a first round draft pick, especially with the way that the NFL game is kind of mimicking the college game for the offenses. Having it spread open, you need a guy who could be dropped into coverage and also rush the passer. Do y'all think Overshown is going to smash? I think he'll have a huge season. He was on pace to having a huge season. What did he only play 5 games? We wrote this on the whiteboard one day. His production was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. He had an interception, a couple sacks, forced fumbles,
3 pass breakups, I think it was.
Yeah, 3 pass breakups. He had, the tackle for loss ratio was among the best on the team, just in the small sample size that we got from him. I think with him though, spinning down a linebacker, his body, when they come back again, was he able to get? They're all going to be asked to be at a certain weight. Like Coleman Hutzler is going to say, "Hey, I'm gonna need you at 220, right, or whatever." And it needs to be certain percentage body fat, and you can't just be any type of 220, right? But because they want to make sure they still have that speed and that athleticism that they saw when you were your previous weight. So whatever that number is, they ask them to be. I don't think it's going to be huge. I mean, you look at Isaiah Simmons, who is what greatness looks like. He's only 230, so it doesn't have to be something crazy, especially with this style of defense that we're going to be moving to. But I do think they need to get his body right, and the sky's the limit for him. Because if he's too light, then we start talking about, well, he's probably not going to make it through the whole season.
So my brother is an OU fan. I tell him all the time Joseph Osai is better than Kenneth Murray. That's kind of hard to say that right now. Yeah. I think he has the ability to be better than him, but Kenneth Murray was a stud. Do you think the season will start on time? I don't think so.
Nobody's going to fault you if you tell them. Right.
I don't think so. I mean, it's just, and I want good football. I don't care if they have to delay it halfway through the season, but I want a full season. I don't want them to cut out the non-conference games. I don't know if you want that. If you just want a conference championship game and then the playoffs from that. But no, I want to see us play LSU again. And I want to see us play at LSU as well. Jalen Green has a chance to be a first rounder. Yeah, he does. He has the NFL prototypical build for a lockdown corner. You just got to continue improving.
All right, so I think I found where we can have some. Y'all let me know if does anybody want to call in? Y'all let me know. Because we can also talk to people on the phone now with Zoom. Overshown was not used correctly. I agree.
Coach Hand's wing cooking video. Yeah, his food better look good. has to feed those big boys.
Hey, I was actually tweeting about that, and make sure you guys are following on the social media accounts. I have to make sure we get those links here in the description. But Coach Hand was throwing down in there. I loved how much fun he had on the video. Just that good old that good old boy look on his face, and sounding like a coach, and that whole thing. Like, I thought that was pretty dope. So good
I
old
feel
Coach Hand. Yeah.
I feel Cook will go into the portal if he doesn't get the corner opposite Jalen Green. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Cook. I think he's got a dog in him. And he doesn't get pushed around either. I think he needs to. I think his issues are between the ears. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was one of the alleged guys who got into a fight with one of the coaches.
I,
A
I
bad
think they
argument
had
with one of the.
a dispute. I wouldn't say a full on fight or whatever. Not like Juwan Mitchell, right? But um, it was, some of the stuff that was happening was inexcusable. I mean, and I don't know if that was with him and Jason Washington. And I say inexcusable from a coach's perspective, because there were parts of the year where he should have been on the field, and they were playing games, right? And this wasn't just exclusive to corner. We talked about this with Brennan Eagles too, at wide receiver, where they just started doing dumb shit and have somebody out there for no reason because they're trying to send a message to somebody, or like that's one thing I think we're past. I think we're past the mind game crap with guys. I think if we're just more straight up tough love, like, and hey, I need you, but we've got to, this is what I need from you, right? It can't be like, you're leading me on the whole week, because guys are mad because they're not getting feedback, or they are busting somebody's ass in practice, and then the game comes and it's like, why am I not on the field? Like, that's not happening at other schools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we hopefully we're past some of the mind game stuff. I don't mind disputes. I don't mind people getting in arguments. Keontae and Sam got into an argument during OU, but they quickly moved past that. That's any Tom Brady and you name wide receiver, you name coach, has gotten into an argument. Now, some people say that's a bad example, Steve. Tom Brady left the New England Patriots. Yeah, after 27 years. But
Tom Brady was 86 years old when he left.
Yeah.
Virus projection model showed the numbers are way lower than expected. We will be more than ready by August. Yeah, I hope so. But they thought the same thing overseas, and then they had a second wave of it. So I mean, we just got to continue. I think it's a lot of the onus is on us. We need to listen to the doctors who are stating the at-home order and the social distancing order for it, because you can't predict when it's going to come back, or when it's going to uptick again.
I agree, and I think we have to be mindful of our the professionals in the health industry and folks. It's not just about us. It's not, I want to get back to football. I want to get back to life. I want to be able to go to the bar again, all those type of things. I get it. And the economy, right? The economy is suffering right now because of it. But the thing is, if you I rather have the conversation about, did we overreact and more people are alive, than the conversation of we didn't do enough. And now, my mother lost her coworker the other day. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
My mother, for those who don't know, is a nurse. She's out there on the front lines and on the East Coast right now. So if I talk to her every day, and it's tough. And her coworker died. It's a 42-year-old man, 5 kids, gone. So, and I'm still getting details, pre-existing conditions, when did he get treatment? Did he get treatment in time? How did these things play out? But I say that to say this. I feel like a lot of people are talking about it from a standpoint of numbers because it hasn't impacted them. But once it impacts you,
Yeah.
You don't give a shit about numbers anymore, right? Like whether it's your mother, whether it's a father, whether it's a friend, somebody we work with, her college roommate tested positive, and is somebody who was in remission with cancer. So it's very, very tricky stuff out here that I don't want to have to do the stop start, right? We think everything's back on, and then this thing's actually gotten out of
Back
control
inside.
again. Or, you know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion, and I know it's just because it hasn't impacted you personally, it's impacting people out here.
Yeah.
Trust me on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
try to
agree.
get this toll number in the.
Is Caden Sterns overrated, or are we going to keep making the injury excuse? I get injury excuse, but come on, we need Sterns to step up. Well, he's only played 2 seasons. In his first season, he played lights out. Second season, he played pretty well, and then around the second or third game, you could tell he was hampered by a knee, or was it a knee or a hamstring injury? And then he got that month off, and he played great, I thought, in the Utah game.
Yeah,
So,
and he had to play a lot of different positions. He was being asked to play slot, which last year he kind of just got to roam
yeah.
and make plays on the ball, right? And so it was good that he was another guy that had to be cross-trained, and he was one of our leading tacklers before he started missing games to injury. But you also want to see him back at a position of strength where he can fly and be instinctive and do some of the cool stuff we saw him doing coverage as a freshman. I think with the way the defense will be structured and with the bodies that are around him, he'll be able to do that, right? He won't need, now that Anthony Cook and Chris Adamora and whoever else will be battling in the nickel, okay, I don't have to walk Caden Sterns down there now. Like I can allow him to play back at his natural position. The more guys we can have playing at a natural position, the better we'll be as a defense, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Big 12 championship is a must. If not, do we pull Mac Brown back? I don't think that Mac will want to come back, honestly.
No,
I don't think he would.
no. I think it's Carolina. I mean, it's his. Carolina's his, man.
He's not going to have to deal with the same amount of pressure that he's going to have to deal at Texas. And from what I'm told, coaching is like a third of the job. Everything outside of coaching is the really busy, stressful thing. And he's not a spring chicken anymore.
Nope.
We have to play it by ear. I hope wait as long as possible for the decision. Yeah. What do we think about Josh Thompson opposite of Green at corner and Cook at the nickel? I thought they really liked Josh Thompson at the nickel. But what did he do? He blew out his knee, right?
Was it his knee? Or was it I think it was his knee. Yeah, well, what happened with Josh? My memory is say somebody can let us know in the comments. I'm getting ready to get the meeting ID out. I think this should work.
When numbers become names, people care here.
Passcode. So in the comments, if somebody wants to try to call in, and so we can see if this works. And if you say something crazy, I'm gonna knock you off the thing.
When is Texas going to stop making excuses when they lose to Baylor and say Baylor should leave the Big 12? I don't think Baylor should leave the Big 12. And last year, you guys beat the shit out of us. That's it. We didn't come ready to play you guys, and you guys were ready to play. Smacked us in the face.
I did see Matthew Miller. I did see the Chris Johnson stuff. Wow.
Oh, the the plot to kill.
Yeah, hired to kill.
Was it the guy who rigged the 40-yard dash?
John Ross only got a better 40. Look at the tape. Look at the tape. John Ross ain't faster than me. Look at the tape. Man, I hope he didn't do that shit, man.
I'm not gonna lie though.
Thank you. It was a foot issue for Josh Thompson. We had so many damn injuries. I couldn't remember who was who. That's funny. That's funny though. The Chris Johnson thing, not the alleged murders.
Yeah.
But
I actually
getting mad about the 40
I'm with him on that because he did have a good point. Usually they have the times right away, but no, it took him 3-4 minutes to release his John Ross's time. So I'm just saying
that the fix was in.
He may not be lying.
Fix was in. Yeah, Marvin Harrison's story is craziness. And people just look past it. They put him in the NFL top 100, everything. Also, but they get mad at T.O. T.O.'s like, I didn't kill nobody at the car wash. Like, this is wild. There was something I saw in here that I wanted to address. Appreciate you guys. There's for the well wishes with my mom. Even OJ got in the NFL top 100. Oh man, yeah, it's craziness. There's something else on here that I wanted to address.
Darius, there should be no reason that our defense isn't light years better. Steven and I have talked about this offline. We like the fact how they have now leaders, and sometimes in some cases multiple leaders at each critical position. So we have a grown-up defense now. As long as we stay organized and play pretty technical defense, we should be a pretty good team.
The starts they have under their belt, like you just said, is key, and the ability for them to just be consistent in their tackling with their eyes, right? Not freaking out when the ball is in the air. And then just understanding, becoming better. Like Tyler Owens, even the ones where he was getting freaked, I think in the TCU game, wherever game he had to play.
He was in position.
He was right there, right? It's just realizing that you got to make the play, right? Mark said, who's going to play inside linebacker for Texas?
Probably Jawan Mitchell or Adae.
I think Jawan Mitchell. Adae's recovering with his injury. So I think it's going to be you have the fan favorite Court Jaquez after the Utah bowl game. Now I think the responsibilities of our inside linebacker will be different as well. I'm curious to see how they'll do it. I'm not a coach or anything, but you can kind of go back and look at how Chris Ash was utilizing his defenses, whether it was at Wisconsin or Ohio State. I refuse to look at. They might as well just burn the Rutgers stuff. But in terms of the responsibilities, it's going to be a lot more of a funnel to where that inside linebacker is not going to have to be totally reliant on athleticism. I think it's going to be a see ball, hit ball type of situation. The coverage stuff will have to come from the extra nickel in there and Overshown, right? Because Overshown will be asked to say, hey, I need you to lock up that tight end or that inside receiver, or that's your responsibility, right? And then my middle linebacker is going to be more of like a cloud type of philosophy, where just rally wherever the ball is, see ball, hit ball, rally, try to make plays. But I don't think we'll be asking, or if the running back leaks out, something like that. Like Jawan Mitchell, is as bad as he looked at times in pass coverage, I think those basic things he can do. I don't worry about that. Also, halftime is going to be used as a blitzer anyway. depending on how aggressive they want to turn up the heat, because he's a really, really good blitzer on pass downs. And I think he had 3 or 4 sacks last year, just hitting the A gap. So that's where his strength's going to lie anyway. The rest of that coverage stuff will be taken care of by the DBs and our outside linebacker.
Yeah. Clemson, Jacob, will you guys go be live for the draft? We don't usually like to go live for things. We actually like to watch it and kind of take it all in. Kind of like we people have asked us to do it for games, and like right before games, and we don't do that. I don't know.
No. Yeah. Draft though might be, because the draft is going to be on Zoom as well, probably. Right. I think the draft is going to be on, like it'll be broadcast, right? Like ESPN and NFL Network will broadcast the draft, but in terms of how teams will be communicating their war rooms, when they congratulate people, all that type of stuff, like that's all going to be just like they've been doing their pre-draft stuff. It's all been through Zoom or Teams or whatever platform they're using.
Side note, did you see the Zoom meeting that they had with Jalen Hurts?
I did.
What's your thoughts on that?
They're over here trying to send a message to Dak Prescott. It's very, very clear to me. The Cowboys continue to play games and want to say, hey, he's being greedy, and trying to, we want to show you like, hey, this is another guy that's a 4th or 5th round guy that we can. And the Cowboys always fall in love with the exception and not the rule, right? Because they've gotten lucky so many times with the exception. Tony Romo was an exception. He was an undrafted a free agent rookie out of Eastern Illinois. He wasn't supposed to have the career that he had. Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick who was the 3rd string quarterback when he came into camp in 2016. He wasn't supposed to be that guy. Miles Austin was undrafted, guy out of Monmouth, I think it was. He wasn't supposed to be that guy. The Cowboys have fallen in love with these exceptions. And so they're like, well, and I do big picture, that stuff will be fine. But I also think they do believe that's why they won't ever get a real backup quarterback, like a veteran. Like they won't spend the money to do that either, because they just think they probably think Cooper Rush could do something if he got in the game, even though I think he's terrible. That's how their mentality is, because they've hit with so many of those type of players that, like, even Jay Ratliff going back in the day when he came out of Auburn, he was like a 7th round pick. They hit on that. Like, just sucks. Can you see the comment window?
Deshaun Jameson got to get on the field too, though. Yeah, well, he's they have him as a cornerback, and good thing he's in a league that you have to get a good rotation for everyone to keep those guys fresh, because they're running all over the field. And I don't know if you guys do this often, but just try sprinting for 6 seconds with 15 to 20-second rests over and over again. You got to have depth at that position.
Oh, Matthew Miller asked a really good draft question that I'm going to answer in a second. But I thought the Deshaun Jameson question, I think he has the ability to be the biggest playmaker we've seen at Texas in a long time defensively. We saw it last
in West
year.
Virginia.
Yes, because what corner last season was making interceptions like that in the country? But then the next game, he's in cover 3 and he doesn't know he's in cover 3.
He gets
like
smoked.
Like I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So if they can figure some of those things out and just get his instincts there, sky's the limit with Deshaun Jameson on the outside. We just talked earlier about how much Chris Ash, you made this point, Tran, he loves speed. Well, there you go. Right. And I know he's a little bit smaller.
Oh, he's got athletes everywhere for defensive backs. He has no excuse not to be successful. If he's a defensive minded coach, and he has, like we said, beasts at every position that have war wounds, they've got battle scars. They know how to play.
So Jerry Jeudy, Lamb, Ruggs, wide receiver 1.
Depends on the offenses too.
But when you're doing this, you're saying, who do you think translates? Ruggs, if you're going on measurables, it's easily Ruggs. Um, I just think out of those three guys, I don't see how CD Lamb isn't a stud with the physicality, with the special team stuff. Because I don't think he's far away from Jerry Jeudy, as some people think from a route running perspective and all those things. And I think CD Lamb arguably has the best release off the line of scrimmage in the draft. Does he have Ruggs' upside? Like if Ruggs ends up with a team that wants to use him the way Tyreek Hill's getting used in Kansas City,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It depends on what, like say KC has this pick. I think KC's gonna pick someone like a Ruggs, right there. They need that. They want that speed. Just to we're just gonna dink and dump, and you're gone.
Exactly.
With that, I mean it's such a you're not gonna have a crappy pick, honestly. You're gonna have a guy who's gonna put up numbers as long as you can have someone to get him the ball. Kenneth Murray story talking with the Cowboys is cool. I didn't see that. Did you see that?
No, I missed that one. I'm checking something out here real quick, guys.
Yeah, Kenyatta's great. Like I said, we need as many athletics defensive backs in the conference that we're in, because we can't have the excuse of us being tired if we have all these players that in our secondary. Explosive skill position players at outside receiver.
I'm gonna check something real quick. I want to see if the bridge is working. See, Brandon Cooks got traded to the Texans.
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
That's wild. That's wild. 7, 3, 1, 2, 2. All right. If anyone's tried to call in, the call-in details, it's a 1-800 number. I'm sorry if I didn't put the 1, but passcode and then the pound. So let me know if y'all have any issues. But if anybody wants to chit chat for a little bit while we're on camera.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Herb Hand thing. He didn't really. This was just his first year though, and he didn't really improve game over game after the OU game. I thought they played really well in the Utah game. I thought they played well for the Kansas State game, but other than that, he wasn't that impressive with a line that had 0 losses throughout the year, 0 key losses throughout the year. But I don't think he deserved to be fired after just 1 year. I think what they did for cleaning the house was getting the bad eggs out, the ones that were kind of pissing off the recruits. Herb Hand does not piss off the recruits. Looks like we're getting a pretty good. He's got a pretty good relationship.
He's done a great job in recruiting, and I think will continue to do so. Cameron Parker, Kenyatta will take one of the corner spots, probably Cook. I do think Kenyatta has a chance to lock down a corner spot, especially with new staff, what they like to do. You can come in there, and he has the measurables, the size. Tran talked about it earlier. My thing with Cook, though, is Cook is probably going to be moved to slot full time. So now you're not in competition with that person, right? Now you're talking about competing against Deshaun Jameson, Jalen Green, right? Like 3 people. Josh Thompson probably being moved to the outside as well, since they want to. I think they figure with the way Josh Thompson plays, he's probably better suited to be an outside corner than a nickel corner. So those are some of the pieces we have to see, because now we're talking about four veteran guys for two spots, right? Well, not four veteran guys, but four, some older guys, because Keanu was a true freshman
Mhm.
this past season, but guys that have played, I should say. T. Higgins was a dog. Unfortunately, he had some testing issues, and the 40 wasn't horrendous. But when you show up to your pro day and you have the 3-cone drill that he had, do I put all that stock in it? Because I saw the brother T. Higgins ball for 3 years. I know
Mhm.
I think too many people are looking at the 3-cone and acting like he's a slug, when it's like, well, does the film tell you he's a slug? Like, is he getting out of his releases quick? How is he running? How does he look running down the field as a wide receiver, right? Like, does he look like a guy who can run away from NFL coverage? Or is he going to be a guy that's always, and I think some people, there was a kid that got drafted this past year that I think will end up hurting T. Higgins in this draft. N'Keal Harry out of
Mhm.
Arizona State last year. He could not run away from people. Everything that Tom
Pissing
Brady
off Tom Brady.
it's like, damn, dude, like, you're not open at all, right? Like, so every time I throw the ball to you, it's got to be, damn near contested, some sort of contested catch, right? So that's something that's an issue. That I think people are bringing up as in relationship to T. Higgins. Sorry, I had to reboot the chat.
Keandre Coburn is going to make another leap this year. He balled last season, even as a young buck. Yeah, I'm #1 fan club. Keandre Coburn. He's just a monster. I saw him take on double and triple teams, and he was stalemating guys, and it's just extremely impressive. I've been a huge fan of his since the Georgia game, and I don't remember which one of their stud running backs was running, but he shed a tackle, chased him down, and dove and actually got the ankle tackle on him. And just to see an effort from a 330-pound guy like that, that's it. I was like, yeah, he sold me.
So I see a conversation going back and forth here about Anthony Cook. Look, Anthony Cook is what, 6'1", so he does have length, but a lot of our corners have length, right? The thing with Anthony Cook, and I'm gonna disagree with you, Cameron Parker. I don't think he's too stiff to play nickel. I think he's actually one of our best guys in terms of being able to turn and run laterally to cover other people. And I think there's value in that. And I think they see that it might be easier for him. And I'm going to give you a name of a player, because I've been telling y'all, hey, we should be shooting for the type of Isaiah Simmons prototype for Overshown. Well, going to Ohio State, there's a guy, Sean Wade, who was playing nickel this past year because they had Okuda on one side and they had Damon Arnett on the other side. They had two great corners, both sides. But Wade was a 5-star cornerback recruit, needed to get on the field, and showed versatility in being able to play slot corner, and was one of their best defensive players on their team, so they could have all three corners on the field. I think that's a goal we should try to get to for Anthony Cook, right? Because we got to start and people may sound, well, that's crazy. Like, he's so far away from Sean Wade and the production we've seen from him. Well, yeah, right now, but in college football, all it takes is 1 year to get there, right? And with the way we've recruited, the level of recruit that Anthony Cook was, who was recruited heavily by Ohio State, by the way, that's the level of player you got to get him to be. Or else why do we switch all the coaches, right? Like, so yeah, we got to start talking about these guys in that vein of like, yeah, we need to get you to be playing on that type of level where, like, Sean Wade's going to be a first round pick in 2021, no doubt about my mind about that, right? So they gotta get that. That's just what I'm seeing, and I understand naturally the natural inclination is to say, hey, Deshaun Jameson at nickel corner. I get all that, but again, it depends on what type of defense and what you're asking from that nickel person, right? there's going to be a lot of run fit responsibilities that person will be there for. I think Anthony Cook can fulfill those
Yeah.
things.
I really think his biggest hurdle is himself. Honestly, he's got to get out of his own head. Everything. It even seems like if something bad happens, it wears on him. He doesn't have the same body language or anything like that.
Says, do you think Herbert goes before Tua because of the pandemic? No, I think the NFL's loved Tua for some years now. This isn't just recently. I do believe there's actually scouts that if you put a gun to their head, they would probably take Tua over Joe Burrow still, especially when you start talking about age. I'm not saying that would be the correct move, but that's how highly regarded. Remember Tank for Tua, all that. Like they love, the NFL loves Tua. They love, and Tua has a star personality. It's the other thing you got to factor in. He comes off camera very, very well. He's going to be easily face of the franchise, and that's where it does make sense for the Redskins to look at somebody like a Tua. Justin Herbert, is he going to move the needle in the fan base? He's kind of like more like the Daniel Jones type of temperament. But at the same token, Justin Herbert, last year's draft, they said he may have been number one. So it just goes to show where the evaluations can go up and down year to year. Tua had a virtual pro day. I'm not surprised. Just looking at some of the other questions. Mark G, what's up, man? Thanks for joining.
Yeah, we've said that. Tom, we think that it's Big 12 or bust for him this year. He has to at least play in the Big 12 championship game.
I think context matters, though.
If they're playing against OU and losing to OU in the Big 12 championship, I think he may be gone.
I think I'm not trying to lower the ship for Texas by any means, but I kind of also feel like if it's a situation where, because we may be like, I feel like in our mindset the last couple of years as UT fans has been us and OU and then everybody else, whether that's accurate or not, right? But to enter the season, we feel like we're right there as like the second team in the conference. I think this year in particular, there's something going on in Stillwater, Oklahoma, right? Let's address that, right? So it's no longer us and Norman, and then we
don't forget about TCU as well.
Right. Well, TCU, I mean, we'll see. But I'm saying in terms of proven weapons coming back, Oklahoma State wins that conversation in the conference right now. If you were to power rank the players in the Big 12, Chuba Hubbard's number one.
Oh, 100%.
And you can make an argument that Tylan Wallace is number two.
After an injury?
I'm just saying, assuming he comes back, let's say, we don't know because we haven't seen him post-injury, but assuming the player that Tylan Wallace was before the injury.
Oh, yeah. Yes. He was
probably number two.
He was the second best wide receiver in the conference.
So when you have that type of firepower going on, now I don't think Oklahoma State, Spencer Saunders still has to go another level. Defense still has to be there. They're losing AJ Green, some other guys on defense. We'll see how that comes about. But when you start with that type of star power, you have my attention. Oklahoma, the streak continues, right? I'm saying all that, and I know I'm being very long-winded in answering the question. I think it's Big 12 or bust in terms of getting to the game. I don't know if it's necessarily. Now, I will say it will be a failure if we don't win at least one Big 12 championship under the Sam Ehlinger tenure.
Mm-hmm.
That will be, and I think that will be a personal failure of Tom Herman's. Forget being fired or not.
If we make it there with Sam, healthy, we will win the Big 12 championship. I feel
If we,
very confident in that.
yeah,
I do. But even Michael Porter just Iowa State's a huge sleeper. I don't think they're a sleeper, but I think they will play spoiler to some teams.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, the Iowa State can make the same argument we make, right? Coach quarterback, veteran coach, veteran quarterback coming back, right? Like that's the same situation that they have over there, and they found some players at the end of last season, especially some of the tight ends they got, right? So, will Spencer Rattler be a problem? Yes.
Yes.
Look,
yes.
he's
Yes.
people. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's going to be one of the most hated players in all of college football because he's got some Baker stuff in him, but he's more like a Kyler Murray type. He's kind of a combination of the two of them, which is scary to think about. The only weakness with Spencer Rattler is we haven't seen him play on a massive level. He played here and there last year when they were giving him some random snaps and whatnot. But the arm platforms, and somebody made the Mahomes thing there. The arm platforms that Spencer Rattler can throw from reminds me of Mahomes, where his feet are not set at all, and he can whip the ball 50-something yards, and he's also, one of the fastest people on the field. So that's why Oklahoma has not left the discussion at all, right? I know a lot of people are like, well, Lincoln Riley only does it with transfer quarterbacks. Well, that's just the situation he's inherited thus far and how it's shaken out. I think he's more than motivated to prove that he can also develop a 5-star top tier prospect into the type of quarterbacks he's produced since he's been at Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler is going to be a problem.
I don't know. I was watching QB1 and his backup was saying you're gonna lose to Texas 4 years in a row. So
well, I hope that. I mean, hey,
I hope that happens.
hey, and that's we have the personnel. We beat Kyler Murray, right? I mean, we went 1-1 against him, right? And that was Heisman winning, amazing Kyler Murray. We have the personnel to play with anybody when we're out. Like the key is the consistency and the physical development to where if you lose a couple guys, all right, we can live. But if we lose our whole squad, on an annual basis, and then we're here next year talking about all the people, it can't be this continuous cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get to a point where we're actually able to week to week feel like when we were watching some of these classic games, and it's like, damn, I remember 05 Texas where it was like I knew we weren't going to have problems stopping the run that day. Like random shit. Like I knew tackling wasn't going to be an issue, right? Like I don't know if we're going to tackle well today. I don't know what way the wind's blowing. Like that's where it's just like every week we come out, we're playing up to our talent level. And that's where you got to respect Coach O, because LSU this past year, every single time they stepped on the football field, they played up to their physical abilities. And that was summoned by the coaches to me. So, we'll see.
Yeah. How does OU's line look this year? Because that will determine the line. D line or O line? Because their O line is usually always good. Their D line, they're losing Gallimore and I know he's not the defensive line, but Murray's gone. Those are two really big losses.
Yeah, I think they still have Ronnie Perkins though.
Yeah, Ronnie Perkins was a sophomore.
And offensive line wise, they're still loaded.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Yeah. Shaka. Somebody asked if Shaka did the pandemic save Shaka's job. I thought after that run, now granted, it ended in disaster with the Oklahoma State game that my wife and I went to. Where I don't know where that performance came from, other than I just thought maybe the kids were tired playing the short rotations they had been playing, and that was the time they just finally ran out of gas, because I didn't even see the same energy and hustle. But before that, going on a 5-game win streak, just to put yourself in the position that you did, It's a $10 million buyout. It's a lot of factors. You have a $10 million buyout, and you have the fact that you're not losing a single kid off of this team. When you're not losing anybody off the team, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the month if they get Greg Brown. But if you get a kid like that
See the
coming
kid
in,
from Vandergrift?
yes,
Okay.
yes, 5-star, just unbelievable offensive player, right? Like, so now, now you have somebody coming in that's going to help you carry the bag and be the type of slasher that I don't think we've really had since Kevin Durant, right? In terms of being able to just put the ball on the floor as a 6'9" guy and go dunk on somebody. Now he doesn't have all the offensive perimeter tools that KD had in his bag, but in terms of just that raw athleticism, you see some really, really special things, how he can just go and get the basketball. What Shaka's got and shout out to Luke Lawless, I think he got the Illinois Chicago job. So he'll be a head coach. What Shaka's got to have is his guards have to be A1 next year. This shit still comes down to Matt Coleman, Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones. And I think that's also why they're quietly trying to get a grad transfer to come in to play some
Ramey was
guard
coming
too.
on late in the year, though. I mean, he's playing a
was,
lot better late in the year.
but again, it's consistency. Like you
Oh
can't
no,
go.
you know, I get it. I get where you're coming from. But he was still what? This was a sophomore season. He wasn't a
Courtney
junior,
Ramey.
was he?
He was a sophomore, I believe.
Yeah. So
yeah, because Matt Coleman's going to be a senior next year, and Courtney Ramey's going to be a junior. Yeah, I mean, but they've played so much basketball now.
I get it.
You know, like the one thing about Kansas, the thing about Kansas is going to be 8 out of 10. Like their floor is 8 out of 10 every time they step on a Big 12 basketball court, and Texas's floor is like 4 out of 10, right? Now we can sometimes get to 8 out of 10 or above, but Kansas is going to start there every single time they come out on the floor. Guards, bigs, everything. And that's where Shaka does deserve the heat and the criticism, because it's like, why aren't we able to summon that? Now, I will give the staff credit for people are saying, well, why wasn't Brock Cunningham playing earlier, or some of the other folks like Royce Ham? Well, couple reasons. They did play earlier in the season and they weren't very good. And you look at Gerald Liddell coming off of the NIT tournament, was somebody who was coming along that was playing well. And then Gerald Liddell played really, really well in the Purdue game. That game we watched together. I was like, wow, we finally got a 3. And then he fell off the face of the earth. Jace Febres loses confidence all of a sudden. And then those other guys were developing in the background, though, getting their reps in practice, still competing, didn't give up, ready when called upon the second time they got their opportunity. So that's good. Now, Gerald Liddell, you got to fight for your job next year. Jace Febres, you're not just automatically going to be our shooter in the wing every single time. Like, you're actually going to have to, you know, if Brock Cunningham can continue to develop his jump shot, I'll have him go stand in the corner and play defense, right? Be my 3-and-D guy. So all those things will factor in. But to me, it still starts and ends with the guards, because they don't show up every single night still, and that's been my frustration with them.
What's y'all's go-to quarantine snacks?
Ooh,
mine are those little clementine, the cuties, the little clementine oranges. I eat it.
I've actually been eating those too.
Yeah, I eat a crap load of those.
I eat a lot of those too. I'm just starting to clean up the diet a little bit, man. I've been making like a little. I realized, like, in order for me to not, because I was eating like a pig the last like couple weeks ago, like Oreos, and not even normal Oreos, Tran.
The double stuffed.
I found no. This is how much of a fat ass I became. I found carrot cake Oreos. Who eats that? Jesus Christ, man. Carrot cake Oreos, man. It was bad, dude. And so I had to have a chat with the wife, and like, hey, we got to cut it out. We got to cut it out. Now, one of the things is, hey, let's try to clean up, cook, make sure you have some meals prepared, so when I get super, super hungry, at least something's already ready to go that I can heat up. And then just supporting some of the local restaurants that I still have here. So just kind of mixing between those two. But the snacking is what I've started to try to get under control. And I think it was also because my water intake was down. I drink a lot of water when I go to the office, like just throughout the day. That keeps you full,
Fills
right?
you up. Yeah, fills you
Yeah,
up and everything like that.
yeah. My water intake's been terrible, bro. So just having the ability to self audit, man, get
Yeah.
those things cleaned up. Uh, Andrew Jones definitely started getting his legs back, and he will continue to. He'll be. He's probably still 10, 15 pounds below what his weight was before the leukemia. So I expect him to be just fine here. I don't know what time it is, Tran, but if we want to go like another 20 minutes or so, because I do want to touch on Tiger. I have some.
Okay.
We got to talk about Tiger King here in a second. But I want to get all the football questions out of the way.
I see Will Baker's role like as a Chris Mim role, which I'd be really happy with.
Will Baker, for me too,
Yeah.
it's just confidence.
He's got to put on a little bit more weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's got some baby fat too. Like but his skill set.
Oh, his skill set's great.
The skill set is there. Okay.
Yes.
He can put the ball on the floor too. Like he can do all those things. It's just confidence. Like there were times where he would, Shaka talks about, he has a term called shot ready. And it's like, bro, I pass you the ball, your feet aren't even facing the basket. Like you're not even ready to shoot. Kamaka Hepa had the same problem, I've noticed. And they gotta quicken up that brother's release because he shoots the ball way too slow. But
are you concerned with the team not getting access to gyms? And so I'm not really concerned because
that's a concern for everybody.
I've been seeing all the people, because everyone seems like they've gone home to their actual homes, and I've been seeing a lot of people go to, I guess, their high school and work out there, something like that. I've been seeing kids in the weight room, so I'm not, but it's universal around all colleges. Gut feeling, we beat LSU in Death Valley. I could see it. I could also see I could also see us losing a heartbreaker.
Michael, I saw you post this earlier and I didn't get to it. Quinn Arrows out of South Lake, who I think is like the number 2 overall recruit for 2022 total. Big kid, big quarterback, super athletic, can do it all. I don't see why he won't, Is the sound out? You can hear me, right, Tran?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, but Quinn, he's a phenomenal player, and what I like about him is his short to intermediate throws. He throws some lasers there. So if you haven't seen some of his film at South Lake, they played. Who'd they play in the playoffs? Was it Duncanville? They played somebody. It turned
I
into
don't
a
know
little
if
bit of a shootout.
it feels like a year ago that football has been.
Oh my gosh, you ain't lying. You ain't lying.
Sounds good. That's what Nathan said.
Okay. Yeah, they'll get there. Our basketball kids, I think. And if not, then the money will be less. We'll be back in society, and Chris Del Conte can move on. I just think when you have that many people coming back as a basketball team, plus the opportunity to get a Greg Brown, who's only going to consider your school of Shaka Smart's there, you got to run it back one more year. I don't have any problem with that as a fan. Even if you don't think
won
it's
19
work out
games too. When
they went 19 and 12. It's not like they were 500, right?
15 and 15.
Yeah. Coach O, the Tiger King haircut. The stuff that they have for Tiger King gifts and memes
Gundy.
and all that stuff during this college football season is going to be ridiculous. Just looking up some of the other. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We'll try to do more of these. And now that, once I get a better hang on how to marry this with OBS, we'll definitely be back in business. But really, really appreciate y'all jumping on. And content-wise, I think one of the things we got to do is we want to do, Tran and I, we're going to do our top 10 players of the decade, 2010 to 2019 for Texas for football.
We whiteboarded this.
We did. We whiteboarded a while ago, and so we actually need to like record that video. And I wanted to do just a real short series. Somebody on Instagram had actually reached out for this, but doing a quick series on just position group, it was gonna be like a pre-spring type of thing, but now just like, hey,
whenever we're
whatever.
gonna
Post COVID-19 depth chart, right? Yeah. Ideal fit for Mr. Duvernay in your opinion?
like what? Like team?
Team, I think Green Bay.
We said Green Bay yesterday.
Yeah.
Anyone with a Green Bay, a Russell Wilson as your quarterback. I also said I wouldn't be surprised about Atlanta. I think Atlanta would be a good fit for him too, right next to Julio, and have Matt Ryan, who he's not the greatest quarterback, but he's still a quarterback that took a team to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Hey guys, we really appreciate y'all as well. If anybody wants to stick around for John and I, a lot of our it's more for our friends. If anybody wants to stick around and listen to us riff a little bit on Tiger King and do some power rankings, I'm also gonna have this uploaded on Facebook. But San Francisco's interesting because seeing how they use Deebo Samuel, so I'm curious to see how that goes down. Yeah. Anyway, so if you haven't watched Tiger King or you don't care about it, you can drop at this point. If you have and you want to listen to us, just continue to talk, or just want to continue to hang out, stick around. Tran, so the internet, the Netflix sensation, the social media sensation, where do we begin with this madness, this Oklahoma/Florida battle of rednecks, battle of exotic cat owners? And I had said I wanted to do
Let's be honest, animal abusers. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. All of them.
All of them are not good people. I don't care what anyone says.
So this, I'm glad you said that though, because where I'm going with this is, if we did a power rankings on who's the worst, right? Like, in terms of like, who's the biggest piece of shit, right? Out of all these people, I think that's how I kind of want to do the power rankings in terms. And then I also want to have a separate list for anybody, and it could be side characters that you have sympathy for. You feel like that person.
All right, let's start with the sympathy people first.
Okay.
So number one, I want that the guy, his road manager, for his campaign manager.
Yes.
He witnessed a guy kill himself in front of him.
Correct. He sure did. What was his name? Was it Joseph Dial? It was. Hold on. I'm gonna get a name. Joshua Dial.
Joshua Dial. You got
Joshua Dial. He saw Travis shoot himself in the head, and I will say this in regards to Joshua Dial. He delivered one of the great quotes of when he said, "I'm a libertarian. I don't fuck with the feds."
Yeah, I don't fuck with the feds. Yeah.
So Joshua Dial. Let me say this. He was a former Walmart employee in Oklahoma. the upside was there for at least for entertainment. Now, yeah, there was going to be some dark days hanging out with Joe Exotic, Travis going down being one of them, right?
It was his dream job. That's why he took it.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a campaign manager.
But nobody ever would have talked about Joshua Dial. He would have never. What's the most interesting thing in his life that would have happened to him if he doesn't meet Joe Exotic and become the campaign manager? And I thought he did a great job narrating his parts of what he saw there.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to him. The chick Saf, who seemed to be the one person of color in this entire show that wasn't a cameo or a celebrity.
This is the girl that got her arm bit off?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She seemed to be
ride or die. Sympathy for staff. There we go.
She was back at work in 5 days.
That girl is a beast.
Yo, I'm like, are you kidding me? So Saf, big sympathy for Saf, right? I do think that all of the crew, because there was even the guy that had no legs, who you later on find out that it was through a totally separate like zip lining accident, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it had nothing to do with what you thought it was.
Oh my god. So like all these people were like, clearly they're being funded with some sort of let's crystal meth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the two gentlemen that were married, the two guys that they initially show, I think John Finley and Travis were married to Joe Exotic, right? Neither of them were gay, and those guys were hobosexuals. That's exactly what they were. They were just looking for a home and drugs, right? So it's like, hey,
and cats to play with.
and I get to be around cats, right? I get to be around cats, and shame on us because the number one victim in this show was the Tigers. Even over Joshua Dial, I would put the Tigers.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, Tigers got to be number one.
Yeah,
just across the board.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah, and then you got Joshua Dial.
And then number three,
Saf. She lost the arm. She can't drop lower in the power rankings than
number
3.
4. Oh yeah, she lost her arm. Yeah,
she lost her arm.
Number 4, I'm gonna say Don Lewis's kids.
Okay.
They got cut out of everything. Everything. If that guy was a millionaire, got cut out the day before. People probably forgot about them because they were only in the first 2 episodes.
And I think that's a good point, right? Like I think they do Carol's backstory in episode 3, and then they don't really come back to the kids and the ex-wife, right? Like, so our energy is just like, all right, we pretty much realized Carol's killed her husband. The only question is, the question isn't did Carol kill her husband? It's how did she kill her husband, in my opinion. But after that, it's only her and Howard that they're really showing. They're not showing the rest of the people that she's encountered in life, because this whole feud between her and Joe Exotic has continued, right? So they go there on my sympathy card. I think Travis and his mother is a sad story to me.
Yes. I'd say his mother more than Travis, because I mean Travis, he had demons, man. Yeah, and I guess that goes into a sad story. So,
who else we got here on the power rankings? Anybody else you want to do for the sympathy side? Because I think
Marquise Goodwin for his name being dragged through.
Marquise Goodwin. You know what's so funny about Marquise Goodwin is when I saw the picture on Twitter, everybody was going in, right? Like, what the hell are you doing? Samuel Ellinger even tweeted about it. Like, it was like, whoa, why are you taking pictures with tigers, my guy? Like, live, like, and obviously, it looked like it was safe until, somebody got their arm bit off.
Hmm.
And Joe Exotic, I also would love to know where he got the paramedic jacket from, so readily available.
Oh,
Bruh just
he was gonna stop the bleeding. Use my belt.
he just walked into
Let me
the
run
gift
inside
shop.
to get my paramedic.
Yo,
Lights up a cigarette. I'm gonna lose all my money.
yo. Um, Somebody said, "What's y'all's favorite Joe Exotic music video?" Oh, it's gotta be "Here Kitty Kitty,"
Oh yeah, yeah.
no question. Um, Sorry guys, if we talked about football and basketball for a
An hour
while,
and a
so
half. Yeah,
yeah,
an
so
hour and a half, 2 hours.
we're just going through Tiger King real quick and running through some power rankings. So he rocks the paramedic jacket. Comes to the gift shop, like it comes to the gift shop like they're gonna have some bad weather and they got to shut down the park. Like that was he reduced that pet. He was like, yeah, had a situation with the Tiger, so y'all want your money back? Bruh, is she
That's
okay?
all he said. Yeah, he said, he goes, y'all can get your money back.
He come back another day. Like we're like, this isn't that bad of a situation, Like, I think one of the most underrated things. So moving on, because some people would say that the cameraman guy has sympathy. The one that was originally shooting the series that he was like
The
recording them,
producer,
the
the producer,
producer
yeah.
guy and then they set the studio on, allegedly they set it on fire. It was an attack of arson, right? I question whether or not I should put that guy on the sympathy list, only because
He
if
put his
you're
life
this,
savings into the video, and he lost all the footage.
and he didn't back it up like anything.
I don't know, man. I don't know how
Doesn't
long
that,
ago was that when he started filming it. It,
I
it
don't
was
know,
in
but
it
what?
was in the internet age because he was doing
Right,
YouTube
yeah, it was
videos.
like
Yeah,
20. It
so
was like 2015, 2016.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you're talking about we're investing our life, my life, this is going to be with my life's work that's going to get me to retirement and all type of stuff, and then it just seems sketchy on top of that. And that's why I won't have Joe Exotic in this sympathy place, because I do think he killed those alligators, man. Like, because they said they lost like what, five alligators or
Hmm.
something in that building, and it's
I
like,
think
just,
he lit it on fire. I think he lit the building on fire.
yeah, I mean, just his erratic behavior throughout and whatnot. But without further ado, let's get to our power rankings.
He said put the alligators in there that burnt in the fire.
Oh yeah, good point. We gotta add the alligators. See, this is why we got to do these things real time. We're adding the alligators straight to the top of the sympathy list. They might be number one, bro. Because I don't know if any tigers got burned to death like
They got
that.
shot in the face. Shot in the face and buried.
Clay, you might have a point, man. It's that beat Carol Baskin.
I think it's 1A and 1B. I think they're like, because both
The alligators.
yeah, both of them 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B. All right, so let's go to the POS power rankings. I'm gonna tell you who I have number one, but I'll let you go first.
Are we going one and up, or are we going all the way to one?
I want to start one down. So who do you think in the whole show, in this whole docu-series, was the biggest? Who was the worst person?
I'm going to say, oof, I'm gonna say Joe Exotic. I don't think he was a good person. I think he was a user, a I think he would do anything just to have some type of fame. Plus, after this came out, I heard a podcast with Jeffrey Ross where he was calling from prison, to Jeffrey Ross, and within the first 5 seconds of him talking, he committed another crime. He said he's going to get out here. He's going to find Carol Baskins and he's going to shoot her in the fucking face. That's what he said.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he hasn't learned anything. All he cares about is fame. I do think he killed those alligators, and he shot a bunch of the tigers in the face just because he didn't properly properly maintain them and get them sold.
Right.
So I mean, I just don't think he's that good of a person, to tell you the truth.
My number one would be Jeff Lowe.
Scumbag.
he's an incredible level of a scumbag. And those type of like, he's not even like a likable con man, like Frank Abagnale Jr. from Catch Me If You Can. Like, at least it's like, at least Frank Abagnale Jr. would have brought some Pan American bread to the table from being a pilot. They would have kept the party going, kept the zoo going for a little bit. Like, Jeff comes in here like he has bread, he's leasing everything. He brings essentially nothing to the table but chaos. Only decides to escalate the Carol Baskin situation with Joe, and is recording him, and some of the stuff I think Joe was aware of. It's just that Joe just was a camera whore. But the nefarious nature, because you ended up seeing Jeff, every relationship he had went to shit. Even with the other dude that he partnered up with, that they never went into that guy's backstory. The guy that came from like mid-America, and he came in there with he had a tiger around his neck, and he came in there to take over the zoo, and they had a falling out because he quickly realized he was doing all the work and investing all of his money. The Jeff Lowe situation, what you decide to do with your woman and all that, that's your business. But just how he was going about things in Vegas, everything was just, Renee on here said he manipulated every single partner, every person, and his day is still coming. I mean, I know he's out free or whatever. I don't see how he got off, how the feds didn't go after him. But Jeff Lowe, and that's gonna sound crazy because you can make the argument. You can make the argument that Joe and Carol, and we know Mario, kill people, right? And then you got Doc Antle, who's running a freaking, sexual cult, the R. Kelly of the Tiger.
He should be up there just for that fucking soul patch.
And he's called himself Bhagavan or whatever. We never got enough Barbara. That chick Barbara from Iowa. What happened to her? Is she all right?
I know that she was just talking about Antle for a little bit, and then she told a little bit about his backstory, and she's like, "All right, we're done with you. Enjoy your bland."
Oh, Renee said, "What about the guy that was the CI?" I know
that was after you said Lowe. I was like,
victims.
That guy was terrible. That guy was a horrible person too.
That guy was a terrible person, but I gotta find his name. You know what's funny, and this is why some of these people in the country are funny. They were like, "You talking about that live fat Chucky doll over there?" I was like, he had the Mark Davis. He had like the Mark Davis bowl haircut. Oh my goodness! And he also had one of the best montages ever on the
jet ski.
On the jet ski, excuse me. On the jet ski. My goodness. I mean, that was quarantine gold. Thank you, Netflix, for that. My wife and I have been sending that like, she's like, "I'm on the way." She send me a picture of that. How can you not laugh at that? How can you not laugh at that?
You can tell he just wanted to show off that he had a jet ski. He's like, "You guys want to check this out?"
Yeah, he was like signaling over to the dude. After, some of those producers though, they're not the greatest people either, right? Like some of I don't know all their names, but Joe Exotic's handlers, the one gentleman who was progressively drinking more and more throughout until one of his last interviews, he was completely drunk, and they have like the vodka bottle behind him. It was a tall, skinny guy that was always wearing shades.
Yeah.
I know that they were feeding that guy liquor and maybe some drugs, right, to get better reactions out of him for camera. And so I feel bad for people like that. And like they clearly, him, the guy with no legs, like they clearly had nowhere else to go, right? But at least the guy with no legs was able to still articulate and kind of narrate what was going on his side of the world, right? What's funny to me though is the guy with no legs calling out Chucky Doll because he said he sold him.
He sold him a stolen, what was it, Hummer?
A stolen Hunter.
H2?
A stolen. he threw it in. The way he threw it in, he was like, it was like completely non-Tiger related. He was like,
"You sold me."
Oh yeah, by the way, he sold me a stolen Hummer. So screw him. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like only in Oklahoma, bro. And then you know what I didn't like? That one dude, what was his name? Allen. That's another reason why Jeff Lowe's a piece of shit. That one dude, Allen, who clearly looked like, I'm not even trying to be funny, like he clearly looked like he was a special needs person. Also may have been another hobosexual. I don't know. They were like, yeah, or not they. Joe was like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you 10 grand to go do the deed to Carol in Florida. And like, we'll pay you 5 up front or whatever, and 5, and then they give him 3 because they can't even get to 5. And he's allegedly using the money from Thanksgiving, which is just a whole nother mess. And then that guy, immediately bitches up, doesn't even go to Florida.
He went to North Carolina, right? And
he went to the strip club, got drunk, and snitched. That's what he did for 3K. Then they show man's in the bathtub, and he was drunk, drinking out his Yeti cup. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, can we add on someone that you feel sorry for?
Sure.
The owners of Affliction for Jeff Lowe wearing that. What's going on there?
We gotta, yeah, they'll be number 6. Affliction owners. We got 2 people we need to talk about. That I want to start with Doc Antle, and then we'll close with Carol. Doc, any other documentary, everybody's talking about him, sex cult, Tigers, all that. I think he gets off because he was a little bit more open about his situation with the Tigers and what they were doing. And he was so shrewd to like realize when he wanted to be front and center about stuff and when he backed away. Because I think Doc realized like Carol is a real killer, Mario is a real killer, and Joe might be a real killer, but I'm not 100% sure, right? Like that's the type of energy I'm dealing with. I'm just sex cult guy over here, right? Like, so it's a little bit, I don't know. I feel bad for all the women he has over there, and they were talking about some of the hours they were working, and obviously, the after hours, worship of him, and which turns into sexual, all sorts of sexual acts and whatnot. But they navigated away from him towards the end of the documentary.
But one of the things about him that I found was very interesting that people don't really like point or talk about, because there's been so many characters and so much stuff going on in this whole documentary, is that he was the one who basically came forward and said, yeah, you have to kill the tiger. They get too big and they eat too much. At the beginning of it, he said, what do you, he didn't come forward and say, he goes, what do you think we do with it?
Right.
If they get too big, they cost too much money. We can't sell it. What do you think we do?
So the thing too is that this Tiger King, and I think one of the big focus when you look at the memes and like what's everybody talking about, right? Like it's become the Joe Exotic versus Carol Baskin, right? And like the energy there. And I think a lot of people, shout out to you for not giving an inch on Joe, because I felt a lot of people were like, free Joe Exotic, he shouldn't be in jail. He wasn't, he got set up and all that. I think all those things are definitely in
He
play.
fucked over his parents, man.
He did. That's inexcusable.
And people don't talk about that. That's not a good person. That like your parents lost their house because of you. Like
Yeah.
like people forget about that
Yeah.
too. Like,
I'm not rooting for that guy.
I'm not.
Now, Carol Baskin, on the other hand,
She's
as I said
got
before,
that sociopathic look, man. I just like
you want to know what a OG triple OG looks like? Looks like Carol Baskin, because she got the feds on her side. She got all the legal stuff cleaned up. When you're able to have your husband removed in the manner that she had him removed, essentially in broad daylight, considering the verbiage that was used in the will of, in case of a disappearance, the parked van, the creepy ass van that got parked, where she was like, oh yeah, he was flying to Costa Rica or wherever the hell he was going. And just her overall demeanor about it, right? She 100% did that shit. And then she's laughing about it, kind of like OJ did when she's like, yeah, like, trying to, like, her funny way of like, if I did it, I wouldn't have done it this way, like, or grinded him up in this because you can only do this much, or, and the sardine oil on the boots and all this type of stuff, like what would get a tiger to eat somebody and all that. Like, she knows exactly what she's doing, but at every turn, she was always the smartest person in the room, because she always knew Joe was coming after her. So she's like a counter puncher in boxing, right? Like, all right, fine, go ahead and throw your cards. And she also got all Don's money and, used it, got on Peter's good side, because she gave that BS explanation about why she wasn't a zoo. I hate zoos, but this is why I keep the tigers in cages. What?
Yeah, she was trying to say, tigers need more than 4,000 square miles to roam, but I'm keeping him in his 10 by 10 cage.
Oh my goodness. Walmart coming through in the clutch for them. Add them to the list. Sardine oil, man. Yeah, like, it's just like, I appreciate that, Renee. It's incredible to me how what people can get away with in this world sometimes. And did you notice how creepy the Tampa Bay detective and the lawyer were? Something wasn't right, bro, with those guys. Something wasn't right.
The lawyer was Don's lawyer, and
Yes.
he was still like shifty eyed.
Bro, because he probably was there when he got eaten. And she told him straight up, like, look, this can be you at any time, right? And so that's why you look at Doc. Doc never came at Carol, because he's like, yo, she'll kill it, And it was funny how they went about it. Like, the first 2 episodes is all like, yeah, here's why everybody else is a piece of shit and why Carol's like at least okay. And then they turn to Mario of all people, who was the movie Scarface is based off of, and he might be the 12th most interesting person in this documentary.
Out of all the big cat owners, he was the best of all of them. The big drug lord.
was the best.
He was the best out of all of them. Like this guy who's probably killed a lot of people, trafficked so much drugs with
Mario had real security.
We forgot about the snakes too, because he killed the snakes. He trafficked them. God,
oh my goodness.
There's so much going on.
There's so much going on. But Mario turns to the camera and is like, I mean, Carol killed her husband, right?
So he did that shit. See, he was the first one to say something in the thing.
It's the Britney Spears meme. You're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Carol killed her husband. And then they go, and then like Joe gets, one of the. I think that's why people love Joe so much, though, because he was such a great source of entertainment.
Mhm.
Joe with the diary, Joe in the live streams, Joe's like the music videos, which is like arguably one of the greatest country music videos I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, my goodness, my goodness. So somebody said refine Jennifer. Just hearing the conversation. What are we watching next? What's out there? I've been, I
I
saw Coffee
I
and Kareem. That was a good
binged
little silly movie.
Ozarks, the new Ozarks one.
I gotta
Season.
finish season 2 of Ozark.
It's good. It's good. Even season
Okay.
3 is really good.
Okay. Shows wise, the next I haven't have they uploaded the next episode yet for Tiger King? Because they said they're gonna do another one. I saw Jeff Lowe's bum ass on Facebook talking about it. I started watching Schitt's Creek. That's pretty funny.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've been watching Dave, which is about
I
Lil
gotta
Dicky.
check out Dave. I gotta check out Dave. That's on
It's
FX.
not what you think. I mean, it does have a lot of funny parts in it, but it's actually pretty serious. It's pretty
Really?
serious. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta check that out. All right. Well, I appreciate. So anyway, power rankings wise, I think we have a very strong sympathy group.
Yeah. Yeah.
The POS group, Joe Exotic, Jeff Lowe,
Mm-hmm. Chucky,
think-
redheaded Chucky.
Jeff Lowe, Chucky, Carol. Does Carol go? Yeah, Carol, Doc, Howard. I'm putting Howard on the list. I don't like him either. Any man
Which
willing
one
to
was
wear
Howard?
that type of Howard was Carol's husband.
Oh, yeah,
late-
yeah.
her
Okay,
current
yeah.
husband. Yeah. Anybody that wears that type of outfit on the beach with the chain, no.
No.
We addressed the hobosexuals. Let's see what else we got. We got Chucky pretty high, but Chucky was a snitch though.
No, he was.
And
he
he
was
sold
a
my man
scumbag. He wanted
a hot
money.
Hummer.
He thought he was going to get a part of that like $300 a square foot Tiger Kingdom. Nope, he got cut out. But he did have a sweet jet ski.
Oh man, that when I think of this show, that's in the top 3 things I think about. So, guys, we are wrapping up now. It's been over 2 hours. It's probably our longest stream ever. I'm not sure. But we've been gone.
I think we've done like around a recruiting one. I think we did almost 3 hours.
Oh yeah,
one day.
yeah. Some of the recruiting ones have been longer. Yeah, but as we get adjusted to these Zoom ones, we'll get better at them and keep the content coming. So appreciate y'all. Horns always up for all our UT fans and for everybody else that follows us and rocks with us. I'll have the links to follow on all social media platforms below, and we'll keep it going. So
everyone stay safe, guys and girls. Sorry.
Guys.